Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so day after the Lakers were eliminated by the Denver Nuggets in 5, I made a lot of mistakes on my reaction video because I'm not gonna say emotional. I guess the word would probably be a little distraught. And so I was mistaking Game 4 for Game 5, and I'll tell you exactly what was in my mind when I was saying that it was Game 4. It was our fourth game losing, which eliminated us, and that was what was in my head. So it scrambled the whole thing up in my brain. But Game 5 is what I was referring to, and the game that I thought we had a chance to win was Game 2, where Jamal Murray hit the shot at the buzzer. I thought we could have won all of them, but when you listen back to my video and I say I thought we could have won a game, I said Game 3, and I was really referring to Game 2. So just wanted to correct a couple of verbal mistakes, but I wasn't sharp last night, man. I was a little upset, but not in an angry way. Just in a had to accept the fact that my team lost, and that we're gonna have to wait a whole summer and see what the team does. If I felt more confident that we were going to do the right thing in the off season, I think I'd have been more at peace with the season ending. But now I'm not really sure what I'm going to see next year, and even what I would do is not something you want to look forward to, if that makes any sense. I would start our rebuild. I would move on from everybody that could get me picks. Pretty much everybody that can get me picks, except for like Austin Reeves on a fantastic contract. Maybe Max Christie, I probably want to resign as a young player, keep Jalen as a young player. But, I really appreciate the greatness of LeBron James and what he's done in terms of driving at the rim. That's one of my favorite things about him, finishing in traffic. His three-point shot has gotten better significantly. I think when he wants to play defense, he helps defense a lot. He is one of the greatest players of all time and one of the greatest players we've ever put in our uniform. And I definitely want him to go up in the rafters for winning that championship with us and just ultimately just being a real warrior for the Lakers, man. He put on for us for 7 years, and I wish him the best. If he decides to come back, I'll welcome him back and do away with this plan. But there are limits to what I would be willing to do going forward. I don't want to pay him $60 million a year. I don't want to use number 17 pick overall when I have on his son, when I have only this pick to show for myself for the next couple of years. I'll have a pick in the year 2026. That will likely be a tank year for the Lakers if I'm thinking ahead. I think they'll probably do this next year and then probably set themselves up for their own ineptitude to be credited to get the highest level pick in 2026. I think, but I really don't know what the Lakers are going to do, and I really don't know if that's their line of thinking in regards to if they decide to bring Bron back. But I'll tell you this, I think it's going to be a little more expensive to hold on to Bron for the franchise, not just monetarily, but just what his demands will be going forward as he gets older. I think it's going to be a little more expensive. I think it's going to be a little more risky for the future, and I really don't, as I was saying last night, want to go through 7 years, 8 years, 20 years of not being close enough to a championship because of trying to squeeze everything out of LeBron James. But if I were in Jeannie's seat, my priorities may be different, because for her it's the business and it's money, and LeBron James brings you the most money. I'm not making any money off of this. I'm more of a fan that wants to make sure that my team is just really good, if not great. And so when your priorities are money, maybe going all in for LeBron James, F the team, F the fans. If LeBron James is going to give me an extra $1 billion plus, then yeah, put 17 in there, grab his son. You know what I mean? No matter what the team needs, no matter what if the son is good or not, if that's what's going to keep that extra $1 billion in my pocket and keep us in a position to always attract stars because we got LeBron, then so be it. But I just think that through the scope and the lens that I'm looking through, that's going to leave us in a position to suffer for it. In the end, we're going to be the ones to suffer for that. She gets to sell the team at a high price while LeBron is still on the team, or hold on to the team if she wants to keep it in the family, whatever she wants to do, and just profit in this era a great deal while she squeezes whatever she can out of LeBron James. But to me, that's not the best course of providing your fan base a watchable product post LeBron. which is very important to me because I'm going to be watching and rooting for the team. And if we mortgage all of our picks and find ourselves in Phoenix's situation, that's a place where you can see the team is going to be very, very difficult to watch for pretty much no reason. Or you're going to have to jump through hoops in order to keep a decent team on the basketball floor, which I don't think is something we should be setting ourselves up for. The only path I see is that if we do what all I think Bron is probably going to demand us do. And I don't think the 3-star superstar model really works unless you get a very specific organic fit. And even so, even when you do that, you have to have some of your own talent drafted with bird rights and all of those things, homegrown drafted players, to make your team as full as it needs to be. Otherwise, you're going to be picking stuff off of the free agency pool that is likely going to be the bottom of the barrel stuff to fill out your roster, and ultimately you're going to have some glaring weaknesses, particularly defensively in certain cases. When it's time to guard certain role players like KCP, you're going to be throwing some of the worst players in the world at him and hoping that your stars drag you to the promised land. Sort of like what the Bucks look like right now. Malik Beasley being their starting shooting guard and stuff like that. And Gallinari playing significant minutes in the playoffs. Like, you don't want to set yourself up for that. And that's exactly what I think is going to be what we need to have happen in order to keep LeBron James in this era. That's my concern. And plus, you can't trust rumors. People are going around saying LeBron James wants Kevin Durant on the team, wants us to trade everything we can to get Kevin Durant. I don't know if I believe that. Maybe it's the truth. If it is the truth, I just think it's the opposite way of thinking. Not to say that I wouldn't want Easy Money Sniper on my team, of course, but not constructed the way we already are with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, and then Easy Money coming in with his contract, and I got to send pick equity and young players out and future picks that out so that I can bring in a guy that's like 36 so he can have his last hurrah and play with LeBron James. I just don't think that's going to set us up for a good future. It may be a solid present, but not a good future. And the future is really important because the more you mortgage now, the worse you're going to be. And I sat through some very tough years. Sacre and Xavier Henry and stuff like that. I don't care to set myself up for that, knowing that that's what's coming after LeBron James retires. That's not good. Or you get yourself a superstar, or maybe a young guy like Donovan Mitchell, and he's surrounded by a bunch of Xavier Henrys and Robert Sacres. This is not. You're going to set your next superstar up for a mediocre tenure with the Lakers, and it just doesn't happen to be that way. So, kicking the can down the road with LeBron James so Jeanie Buss can make more money is going to ultimately be what hurts us, I think. If we do it the way that it looks like it has to be done, in my opinion. If the CBA were a little more friendly in this regard, then I wouldn't have that mentality about it. But I think the CBA is set up so that you really can't do this. So that most teams that are trying to do the super team thing have an expiration date with a bunch of bad role players. And it's set up to deter you from even trying to do that. So because I know that is what it's set up to do, it's like a poison pill type of thing. You don't swallow it. Simple as that. You build sort of like we did this year, just, better, a lot better for your vision. But the same allocation of funds in the same type of directions, just better for you. Do better in that way. You don't got to get a third star. Just get better role players if you can. And if you can't, then you're just stuck being as bad as you are. And that's one more reason why you don't go forward with this core. If you can't get better without doing something without swallowing a poison pill, then you probably should be doing away with this, starting over, and then better building yourself a foundation which will allow you the more flexibility to build like this in the future. So you can pair Giannis and Wemby up in 2030 or something, if that's, you know what I'm saying, that kind of thing. Because if you don't set yourself up that way, you keep swallowing poison pills to make things happen in this era, and it's going to be so much more difficult for you to build later on. and you're gonna want to blame the GM. You're gonna want to fire coaches. You're gonna want to make trades and that are gonna be bad for you to make because people know you don't have the leverage because you're not gonna have the assets because you gave the assets away now, or misuse them, like we've done in the past. I don't think making more mistakes with our assets is going to tumble forward to be anything less than a mistake later on. And there's a million ways for a billionaire to make money. I would tell Jeannie to just invest in something else if you want to make that extra billion. You know what I'm saying? Find another way. Don't do it through the NBA cap system. Don't do it through the NBA because the expectations for us to sustain excellence is so high that you could do something that makes us happy with you today and we're going to run you out of town tomorrow because of it. You would do better setting yourself up to have us a little unhappy today so that you can have a better foundation from which to build tomorrow, and then you have more sustainable excellence or the ability to build more sustainable decency. You raise your floor so that you never hit rock bottom unless you intend to get the first overall pick or whatever. So that's what I think. I think you can't skip steps, and Jeannie, you know, I hope she's seen the fruit in not. You had a nice tenure with LeBron James for 6 years, 7 years. Now you gotta repave the floor so that your foundation can be strong, so that whatever you're building on top of it can last even longer than what this did. We started this with an unbalanced foundation, and that's why it hasn't been as successful as it otherwise should have been. Yeah, your core was good, but your role players were not very good. You wanted to amend certain things with your role players, and you brought in the wrong guy, Russell Westbrook, and that set you back. So it's like you got to reset because of that mistake or those mistakes. And if you don't see the fruit in fixing your foundation, then the way the CBA is set up, they're going to make you pay for that. You're going to suffer for that. So that's really what it's about. It's not that we want to move on from LeBron James. It's just that you can build a mansion on a sliding hill, and the slightest earthquake or flood, and the house goes down the hill. Why would you invest so much in getting bells and whistles in a house like that? You see what I'm saying? And you got to look at it that way. You have to look at it that way so that you understand not to invest in that house, but that you can take that same money, build yourself buy some better land, and then build that same house in a place that'll actually allow the house to stand. It's no different in the NBA. It's the same thing. And so that's what I would tell her, man. Don't build on unstable foundation. You know that. And resetting is the mechanism or the process from which you can build what it is that you're actually wanting to do here. And it won't take that long if you do it the right way, especially since you have such fantastic assets in LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Now, LeBron, you're moving on from, or you're keeping. Maybe the smart thing is to keep him and then trade him after you get him signed. Maybe next season. I don't know the perfect way to, spin this situation, because now he's a free agent. If you were going to do what I think was best, you traded him this past trade deadline so that you could capture his value then, so that he wouldn't have the leverage to potentially bounce or demand that you do certain things that you had no business doing. You capture what he was worth, and you can start building that foundation immediately. But now that we're in this space, that's no longer an option. Maybe you have to re-sign him in order to continue to have him as an asset, because if he walks, all that money's out the door. So I understand the importance of maybe he's worth whatever you have to do to keep him. But the idea, in order to build your foundation, is to capture his value in a different way. It's the only way. It's the same thing with what I said about the Suns. You got to trade Devin Booker and Kevin Durant to replenish what it is they mortgaged. So it's like, unless you want to build that foundation, your team is destined to be bad at some point. Not just kind of bad, but like really, really bad. You're destined to be the Wizards for a while because of what you do today. So it's like, if you don't want to be the Wizards, you don't want to be Charlotte, You don't want to be Portland, although Portland, I think, is in a much better place because they're rebuilding on purpose. So that's not the greatest example. But if you don't want to be bad just to be bad, then you got to make sure that the moves that you make right now aren't setting you up for that. And the way the rumors are set up, the way it sounds like the Lakers are trying to move, that's what it looks like to me. That they're setting themselves up to be exciting now, but bad later. And when I say exciting, I put quotations on that because I'm not talking about the type of exciting that Denver and Boston could potentially be right now. I'm talking about the type of exciting that the Brooklyn Nets were when they had Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. You're probably going to be leaving in the first round any damn way because of that type of excitement, but at least you can sell people the idea that your team is good even if it's not really a contender. That's what it looks like she looks to build right now, putting another star next to AD and Bron. They're not going to really be a contender because you're going to have to give away key pieces, as I already said, blah, blah, blah. So people don't want to reset when they don't want to reset, especially when you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis in house. See, you know, it's a real shiny object that people that can dangle in front of your face. It's like a temptation that makes you want to hold on to it. But the reality is, if your foundation is bad, it really doesn't matter what you're building on top of it. It really don't matter. I can have LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. If my foundation is bad, the team that surrounds them is going to be so bad that they're not going to be happy and they're going to want you to leave. They're going to want to leave, or they're going to want you to overpay them to keep them in that bad situation. When if you fix your foundation, you look up and your foundation is strong, you get to keep whatever you get later. And as I've said many times, the Lakers are going to always attract the best talent of the day. They just got to make sure that they take care of their foundation so that whoever comes here would actually be happy to be here. You can't do that if you keep mortgaging everything for superstars. And Jeannie has to understand, LeBron James is worthy of the treatment that he's receiving from you because he's done so much in this league and has garnered himself to be one of the top players to ever play. But if it's not in your best interest to behave that way to honor him, or if you don't have the foundation to provide that type of honor, then you're hurting yourself more so than you're honoring him. And he can get that honor somewhere else. Now I know greed to tell you, hey, how does that help me if he gets that somewhere else? That doesn't help us. But nor does keeping him if your foundation is bad. That doesn't help you either. And you got to be able to identify that. No different than you'd be able to identify him going somewhere else is not what you prefer. Nor is you keeping him and continuing to put yourself in a position to have massive headaches tomorrow because of how you did it, because your foundation is bad. So our foundation is bad, man. We've mortgaged too many picks, and his demand is that we mortgage more of them, misallocate them. If we want us to trade the pick or use the pick on his son, that's a bad decision. And I don't think LeBron James has the team's best interest in mind when he's thinking about these type of things. I think he's just fine with leaving a team bad as hell for 5 years after he leaves. I think he's proven that with the Miami Heat and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Maybe the owners are fine with it too because they get to cash out on the money that he provides them. So it's a win-win for those two. Your fans suffer. We're the ones that get the worst of that. And quite honestly, I don't appreciate it. Billionaires get to sit up and shake hands on deals and leave us to be the ones that suffer the ills. Nah, that's not cool. It's not cool on any level. It ain't cool in sports. And that's exactly what that is. So for me, it's like, nah, I'm not cool with that. Bron needs to not do that, and Jeannie needs to not sign up for that because we're the ones that's going to be watching the Xavier Henrys and Robert Sacres. When everybody's moved on, cashing out wealthy as hell, happy how their legacy went because they got to do whatever they wanted to do, and we're sitting up here watching garbage on television, paying for it. Nah, don't set us up for that. If you really genuinely care about the fans, don't set us up for that. And if you don't care about the fans, don't expect us to care about you. Don't expect us to pay into what it is you're doing, because we're much more savvy than we used to be, and we see it coming. And people like me are saying this to you. We won't support it. If the team is horrible like it was in whatever the hell year that was when we had those players that weren't any good, I'm not watching that crap. Because I know it will have been done deliberately based on the greed of today. I will know that. And the Phoenix Suns fans need to be savvy enough to understand that is exactly what your owner set you up for over there. To be bad for years and years, because of what he decided he wanted to do today to garner some quick money for the franchise. Put some names on there that really couldn't win. Same thing with Josiah in Brooklyn. They didn't really care, you know what I mean? They just wanted to cash out on the day. They could care less about the fans. They really didn't give a shit. And I just don't think the Lakers are like that. I think not to that degree. And I think that they may be sheepishly walking into that just out of doing things the wrong way. And so for me, I want to give Jeanie the option of understanding that I see this, that other fans see this, and that we're not supporting that decision at all. I don't want you to mortgage my future. I don't want you to use the 17th overall pick on a prospect that should likely go undrafted this season. I don't want to do that. I don't want to give half my cap to somebody who's my age at 40 years old. I don't want to do that at all, because I know what that looks like based on the CBA and how it's set up for us to fail when we do it. If it were friendly in that way, fine. But not knowing that it creates a horrible foundation for the franchise. No, I'm not going to support swallowing a poison pill so people can cash out in 2024. No, that's bad. That's bad for everybody who supports this franchise. So that's what I'm telling you, man. I'm about ready to move on. I like LeBron James a great deal for what he's done for us. We got support, but that undying loyalty where we swallow poison pills to make him happy, that doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense to me. At all. And you know, maybe people believe they got a better plan. Maybe they can see a way where it gets better from here and there and or whatever. If they can make it happen, great. But the evidence shows me that they could not. We're out in the first round because of decisions people made. You know, look, we're out in the first round. We weren't good enough to capture the best possible pick of or lottery pick this season. We weren't bad enough to do that. And we weren't good enough to get out of the first round. So guess what that is? On this channel, you know what we call that? No man's land. No man's land hell. We talked about how we didn't want to be in this space for years. We've been talking about this leading up to this moment for a while now. And now we are officially in that space as it pertains to not good enough to garner a pick, not bad enough to feel good about. You know the cuss word that rhymes with that. And so for me, I don't care for this. Not as a fan, not as a talking head, not as someone who's passionate about this sport or this league. I don't care for this. Get me and all the other teams that are in this situation out of it. That's what I'm asking. Collective owners, get your fan bases out of these situations. If you're not good enough to win big, get bad enough to get a nice pick so that the best talent can be in your uniform. That's not just for us. That's everybody. Everybody needs to be doing that. And if you're not negotiating a fair way for that to be the case, then you're not doing the right thing by the fans. I should not see every first-round pick go to OKC and Utah and Houston over the next several years because they made trades, you know, taking advantage of greedy individuals who didn't care about this type of stuff or individuals that weren't savvy in this way. No, that needs to be undone. All the best talent going to go to one or two places over the next several years. And the big market's not going to have these players. You're going to see OKC with a super team of all naturally born drafted players because they took everything from everybody who mortgaged every damn thing. It's just no. This makes for a bad league. It's going to make for a very bad league, man. So, Jeanie Buss, you got to trailblaze. You got to be strong enough to say, yo, I got the Laker market, but my foundation is garbage. And so what am I going to do? Fix the foundation before asking for beautiful stuff to be built on top of it. You got to fix that foundation. Salute to Kobe Minute. So that's where my head is, man. If we're not building in a way that allows us to move with the current of the CBA, of the current CBA, then we're going to be drowned by it. We're going to be run over by it, you know, like literally. I don't know what else to tell people. You can't build a 3-star model and have good role players unless you drafted them beforehand. That's the only way. That's why Golden State was able to succeed, because they drafted all them dudes. Then they brought in Kevin Durant, and that makes them super. But if you don't have the Steph Curry, Draymond, Clay pieces, and you had to pick all them dudes up from different teams and pay them all $60 million, you know what type of role players they would have had? They wouldn't have had no Sean Livingston. It wouldn't have been none of those type of players on that team. That team would have been terrible. They would have had Xavier Henrys. You know what I'm saying? No, man, stop this. Get it right, Lakers. Get it right. Stop with this nonsense of doing things the fast way because you don't want to disappoint people in 2024. You saying people going to be standing here in 2027 like, where the hell are we at now? And we're going to be looking at the same you. You're going to have the same head that's aching the same way that you're trying to keep from happening right now. It's like you can prolong headaches, but you're just making the headache worse. It's not like it's going to get better. The situation's going to get worse because of what you're doing right now. You do better to just swallow that now, rebuild now, thank Bron, thank AD, send them to places they want to be, capture the picks that you can. That gives you the foundation to start over, and then carefully move about managing those assets properly. If you're worried those picks aren't going to be any good, get ahead of that by trading them for picks that are. I don't know what to tell you, but that is the path. You capture as many picks as you can, just like OKC and Utah did. You don't worry about being bad. Not now. You worry about sustainable horribleness, if that's a word, for doing things the wrong way. Utah's foundation is amazing. OKC's foundation is unbelievable. You understand what I'm saying? It's because they did these things. Houston's foundation is fantastic. They got all these number one picks that came into their situation over the last several years. You know, Orlando's looking great. These teams are doing it the right way because they have the picks and they were patient enough to build a sturdy floor. So that's what I want to say, man. I know exit interviews were yesterday. I don't find myself interested in exit interviews really ever. I don't think that people are going to be very honest a lot of the time. It's usually just like the cookie cutter of, hopefully we'll come back next year. I don't know what I'm going to do with my free agency. I wanted to help the team. I didn't get a chance to play, but, I really believed in the unit. I thought we could have did more. I don't need to hear any of that. I could write those scripts for those players myself. I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever the PC thing is to say, believe me, I could actually write that stuff up for them. I already know what they're going to say, and if I don't know what they're going to say, then I'll hear about it. You know what I mean? I don't have to sit there and watch exit interviews. I thought it was unique that they did exit interviews in Denver after the game. Usually they wait till the next day and fly everybody back to LA. But I honestly think a lot of these guys don't want to be – they want to go on vacation now. If this didn't work out, they wanted to leave Denver and go to wherever they want to go. And I don't blame them. I would have been on board with that if I were a player and a coach. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to go back to LA. And if I do want to go back to LA, I don't need to be talking about the Lakers no more. So I definitely agreed with that. But I thought it spoke to the idea that maybe a lot of these people would not be returning, period. Your D'Angelo Russells and some of these guys are going to be traded away. Your coach probably could get fired. A lot of people were surprised that Darvin Ham wasn't fired this morning. They did fire Frank Vogel, so I did hear some criticism about how Frank Vogel was treated one way, Darvin Ham's being treated better, and although the Lakers may have learned their lesson, they're also not keeping that same energy, and it looks away. And some people are really upset that Darvin Ham wasn't fired last night, just like Frank was. But you can't make the same mistake twice, to be fair. How does that make any sense? You treated Frank unfairly, treat Darvin unfairly. No. You learn from that mistake and never do it again. That's the proper way to handle it. They did release a statement saying that it is highly unlikely that Darvin Ham returns, that his job is in serious peril. And I just think the Lakers are just taking their time. They got a whole offseason to work that out. A fan like myself just wants us to have the right coach in place for whatever our timeline is going to be. If our timeline is going to continue to be win now, we go keep on doing this with this bad foundation, then we should probably bring in a coach that is proven to win championships and proven to do it at a high level. If we're going to move forward with a young crop of kids or Xavier Henrys next year, then it really doesn't matter who the coach is. You're going to be bad regardless. You probably want a foundational coach in place that can develop young players is basically what you need to be doing. And I don't think Darvin Ham is that at all. I don't really think Darvin Ham's a head coach in any way right now. I think he's bad, just bad, honestly. So I think for the sake of our own momentary thoughts, we would love to see Darvin Ham fired right now. But the reality is, the only important thing is that he's not back next season. Whenever they decide to fire him, they can fire him whenever. Just make sure it's done. That's the only thing that matters. As long as he ain't starting the season, coach, you should be fine. So long as they don't wait to the last minute to replace him and then have a hard time getting a coach, which I don't anticipate is going to be the problem there. I think they'll cast a wide net, hopefully, and hire a coach that brings in certain traits that Darvin did not have. Hopefully they don't OD that, so to speak. Don't overdo that, because what you end up doing is bringing in a coach with a whole different set of problems while you were looking for somebody who's the anti-Darvin. That could, you know what I mean? You just want to make sure you have a balanced idea about what it is that you are doing, and then bring in a coach that does what it is that you need him to do, if that could be any less vague. So, that's what I have to say, man. I want the Lakers to rebuild, because I think we're forced to, and I don't want to go against the current. If we weren't forced to, yeah, bring me Kevin Durant, bring me Steph Curry, bring me everybody that's over 36 that made an All-Star team last year, and let's be the what they call that movie? I don't remember. They I don't know. Whatever the hell that movie was when they brought all the old people together for a fight and all this stuff. Exterminated, whatever the hell the name of the movie was. Let's do it that way. You know what I mean? If the CBA was set up to allow us to do it without absolutely being terrible for 7 years for doing it. But since they don't, poison pills are not to be swallowed. Period. So that's where I'm at. And as far as Anthony Davis is concerned, I would love to keep Anthony Davis, but our assets just don't allow us to. For what it is that we have, if we really want to capture these great picks, then he has to be moved for those picks. Bron is going to be a free agent. So the chances of us being able to re-sign him are determined by us continuing to swallow a poison pill, as far as I can tell. That's what it looked like to me. Overpay him, get his son with the only pick you have for the next 3 years. All of that looked like poison pill stuff to me. All that looked like kissing LeBron's behind so that he can come back to a bad team and not get to the finish line and be okay with it. I'm not interested in that. That doesn't move me. That may help Jeannie's bank account and keep booties in the seats, as my mom used to say. But that doesn't do nothing for making us any good after he decides to move on from the butt kissing treatment. No, I'm not doing that. No. What I am going to do is fix my floor. You know, that's what I'm going to do. So if people are listening to me and they follow what I'm saying, they're going to study first before making any moves. Make sure that they know what they're doing, because I certainly don't know the ins and outs of things like that. But I know what the general idea should be, and it should be fixing our floor. Fixing the foundation of what it is that we have, so that when we build, we can build properly, based on the rules that have been set in place for us to follow. You know what I mean? You keep running into walls trying to fix your house. You got everybody bouncing off the walls and stuff like that, trying to fix the house. It's going to tear down while they're trying to fix it. Everything they do is going to be falling to the ground. Can you imagine such a sight? Every time they fix one wall, they're scraping another. Like, no, you got to do things properly. So that's really what it is, man. I just want the Lakers to do things properly. It's not wrong for you to do things the right way. When it's time to rebuild, it's time to rebuild. And right now, we're in no man's land with our most attractive piece demanding that we do all types of impossible stuff that ain't gonna leave him no closer to getting his championship at all. Getting your son with the number 17th pick probably should not be asked of him. We can bring your son in, but not with that pick. If we can bring him in with a second round pick, I don't have a problem with that. But with the 17th overall pick in the first round, for the needs that our team currently has, and the fact that we just drafted a point guard, you're going to bring in a 6'2 guard with the 17th overall pick when he's not even supposed to go in the first round? When you have specific needs at the center position? That's wrong for yourself. That's wrong for the team, man. Now we could change our needs. People start trading away guards. D'Lo leaves, trade away, and then all of a sudden you don't have a point guard. Maybe it makes more sense to bring in a point guard, but not somebody who's supposed to go in the second round, in the first round, just so that you can meet the necessary criteria for keeping a star who's going to demand $60 million or $50 million on top of that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, that's too much, bro. I can't. There are limits. There are limits. There are limits to this. And if we don't have any, then we're gonna run into trouble. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to do all these different things, but once the price gets too high, then some of those things just can't get done. And I gotta live with that. So, and that's where we at. That price is too high, bro. You want me to give you $60 million a year? And you want me to throw away a first round pick on a 6'2" guard when I have 1 million guards and drafted one with the 17th pick overall last year that I shouldn't have drafted, who has a back injury issue right now? Hell no, bro. That's absolutely out. That is 100,000% out. Now, there's ways around that. You could trade the 17th overall pick down, bring in assets and a second round pick that you can use on Bronny if you want to use your asset that way. I wouldn't suggest it. But, you don't have to use the 17th overall pick on him. You can trade down. That is probably a more logical decision in that scenario. But if you think somebody else is going to take him in that range and you just have to have him so you can keep LeBron James, then guess what? Poison pill. You just swallowed it. So that's my thought, man. I'm not going to look. I don't want to look at bad basketball next season. But if I got to watch good basketball next season, and because of it, I'm going to end up watching bad basketball for the next 9 seasons after that, I'll watch bad basketball next season, fam. Period. That's what I'm telling you all. It's fine to bring Xavier in for 2 years if it can keep us from having him on the damn team for 9 years. But if you're going to keep LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Anthony Davis on the team for 1 year, and then I'm going to have Xavier on the team for 9 years, that's not math I'm willing to do. That is not math I'm signing up for. That is wrong for me. And that's what essentially I'm trying to express in this long video. So I hope people are listening. I hope people, like I said, study what you need to study so you make decisions that make sense for you. But do understand, greed kills, friends. Greed kills. Do not make a decision for this franchise based on greed. Sustainable longevity is more lucrative in the long run. And because you are a family business, that should be your thought. That should be what the outcome you want for yourself. Not to cash out in 2024, but to have a team that is continuously good and successful through 2065. And I'm telling you, the decisions you make right now can really set up the pathway for what that looks like for your team. If you're not going to sell the team while doing this, it really doesn't make much sense at all, in my opinion. It really doesn't. But if you're intending on bringing LeBron James in for these last 3 years, doing all this stuff to mortgage everything, raising it to its peak value in theory, although I can argue he probably already did that. He's not getting any younger. Probably ain't going to get no healthier than he was last year. If your intention is to sell at that point, at its highest point, then maybe you can run the risk if you think that's what it's going to do. Otherwise, cashing out in some random year and then having to invest so much to do so, from where I'm sitting, that's not a good investment. That looks like the worst decision to make for yourself. That's a misguided investment. And like I said before, I was on board with paying Kobe Bryant $40 million that year, because I thought not only did it bless us with the ability to see Kobe never put on a different uniform, but it also sent the message to a guy like LeBron James that we really would be willing to do for you what it took to keep you. I don't have to follow through on that anymore. I think the landscape has changed some. I think the requirements to keep a star happy has changed, and I don't think that's Kobe Bryant to us. That is not the guy you say, I'm going to do everything for you to honor you in our uniform. No. We love Bron, but not to the point where we're swallowing poison pills to keep him happy. That's not the type of unselfishness you need to be thinking about, Jeannie. That ain't. That does not help the fans who are following this team. It will help the LeBron fans continue to love your team, but that does not help the long term of your fan base. We ain't going to appreciate that the same way. It doesn't make sense to us at all. Especially when he doesn't seem to have our best interest in mind as he's asking these things. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it looked like to me, man. Looked like the dude is on his way out. He want to play with his son. He knows he can play at a high level, and that's his leverage. And we live in a world where leverage is king. But I'm telling you, you end up doing that, and you're going to lose a lot of people over the years going forward if this goes as bad as I think it possibly could go. So, I think I've said what I need to say, man. Y'all know me. I ain't really looking at the pointers everybody's talking about. I got something. I got my mind on other things as it pertains to this franchise. That's why you come to me. We ain't here to talk about exit interviews. We ain't here to talk about Darvin was a bad coach and now needs to be fired. All of that is surface level thinking. We way past that over here. BDL 44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.